Gabriel, 1074 Walnut Avenue. We're here again at this meeting 6 months after the vote was called to obtain an engineer's report on the Esquire Village apartment expansion. We now have a new board member, Mr. Wayne Calder, who was not present for the public hearing and was not there to hear the pleas of the residents in our neighborhood in opposition to this project and zone change. We're concerned and hoping he's completely up to speed on this issue. I'm also curious as to why it has taken so long for this to be placed back on the agenda. We were told this was over and aren't really sure why it took this long to resurface. I certainly hope we were not waiting for a change in the members of the town board. At the June 9th meeting, when this issue last appeared on the agenda, the residents were misled by some to believe the apartments could be built whether the zone change was granted or not. Luckily, we did not let that misinformation sway our opposition to this zone change. A resolution was passed, and I would like to thank Mr. Parisi, and Ms. DeLeva, and Mr. Martin for spending a great deal of time listening to our concerns and looking into the details of this. And the resolution was passed to get the engineer's report and determine if this was possible. That engineer's report makes it clear that the answer is no. Mr. Delgado told us at that meeting that if we didn't allow the zone change, that things would be worse for us. Why would some of our public officials knowingly vote in favor of something that is against the zoning code and laws in place to protect us and vote for something that would be worse for us? You should be looking out for the best interest of the residents, not trying to trick or deceive them. The zoning laws talk about preserving property values and neighborhood character. They talk about buffer yards, trees, landscaping, sidewalks. Yet when we bring up these points, we're met with resistance. All we hear from the opposition is what Mr. DiLorenzo is entitled to. I feel Mr. DiLorenzo has gotten more than his fair share over the years that I have lived on Walnut Avenue, while we have been ignored and sometimes treated like the enemy. Supervisor Delgado also told us at a town board meeting that he wouldn't live where we live. He stated it was too congested. The primary reason our neighborhood has become congested is because of the R3 spot zone. The last expansion in 1985, shortly after we built our brand new home. And now some of the town board, I believe, want to allow this to happen again. I believe our neighborhood and our neighbors are just as entitled to their property rights as Mr. DiLorenzo is. Enough is enough. Measures that were put in place to provide appropriate screening for our property are not there. My correspondence to Mr. Mahar in the Public Works Department have gotten no response. This is the kind of thing we have dealt with over the last 26 years that we have lived in our home. No protection for our rights, the destruction of our property values and our quality of life. Defending our rights as tax-paying property owners should not be held against us. I have been told by a resident on Floral Ave that in the summertime when the windows are open, they can hear the toilets flush in the apartment building behind their home. Yeah, I would say that area is congested. We do not want that to happen to our property, and I feel that that is a reasonable way for us to feel. I am also curious as to why Esquire Village continues to dump snow from the parking lot of one of its buildings on the Floral Avenue R1 lot. When this issue was brought up by one of the residents at the Planning Commission as one of our concerns, Mr. Blackstone assured us that that was an isolated occurrence and would not happen again. It continues to happen. The points that we have made here are points clearly stated in the zoning code of the town of Rotterdam, which should be the standard used for making this decision. We didn't make this stuff up. Preserving neighborhood character, putting the rights of one property owner over the rights of the remaining property owners. Anyone familiar with the town code knows that this apartment building should never have been allowed to expand to this size and to encroach this far into an R1 neighborhood. The code actually states that our planning board can ask a developer to double the yard requirements to protect the privacy, neighborhood character, and property rights of the neighboring properties. If a developer, no matter who he or she is, wants to build multifamily housing, then I feel he should buy land that is zoned for multifamily housing and follow the density requirements and building codes required of that property. The residents should be protected by their elected officials. I hope you can put politics aside and do the right thing for the residents of the town of Rotterdam.